Discipline, duty, unyielding will. These are the measures by which every major warrior is judged. Unarmed, a warrior with these qualities will still find victory. No matter how long or arduous the path, when girded with the sacred armaments of the Adeptus Astartes, such a warrior becomes truly indomitable.
The 7th Legion, the Imperial Fists, defenders of humanity on the last wall against the Imperium's foes. The Imperial Fists are perhaps the most stalwart and disciplined space marines in the Imperium, only being rivaled by that of the Ultramarines. The Fists are masters of fortification and pay attention to even the tiniest of details. The 7th Legion was one of the very first legions to participate in the wars of unifying Terra. They fought many battles to secure the planet for the Emperor, one of the toughest being against the Himalayan tribes. Once Terra was unified, they assaulted the moon, bringing the lunar colonies to bend to the Emperor's will. They would later be reunited with their Primarch, Rogal Dorn, and were gifted a void-capable battle station known as the Phalanx. This ship would essentially become their homeworld. Of all the Primarchs, Dorn is one of the most stone-cold and stalwart of them all. He has a tactical mind that rivals that of Guilliman and Alpharius, as well as skills that would put any mortal sculptor and architect to shame. Given names such as the Praetorian of Terra, the Vigilant, and the Unyielding One, he commands 7th with incredible zeal. When the Primarchs were whisked away by the ruinous powers, Dorn's youth was spent on an ice world called Inwit. Inwit is a freezing death world with a star on its last stages of life. One side of the planet is always engulfed in darkness, while the other only dim sunlight. The dark side of the world is covered in mazes and crevices stalked by horrible monsters. Freezing seas lie beneath the world's ice, full of blind, alien sea creatures. It is almost a similar world to that of Fenris, but lacking in the extreme seasons, being perpetually locked in winter. Not much is known about Dorn's childhood upon this planet, but like most of his brothers, he came to rise to power and led his clan to the top, eventually securing the planet. He then took them into a technological revolution, creating spacecraft and beginning their empire once again. Through his survival and parenting, Dorn was taught to be stalwart and disciplined. On the world of Inwit, even a small mistake or moment of weakness could lead to a cold, horrible death. When the Emperor was reunited with Dorn, he was greeted with his son, along with an empire that had expanded into the stars and was ready for war. From the moment they met, Dorn was extremely loyal to the Emperor, fully prepared to do his every bidding. The Emperor gifted Dorn with the Phalanx and returned him to his legion, and they became part of the conquest of the Great Crusade. During the Great Crusade, the Imperial Fist's main job was of course to conquer the galaxy, but also to ensure its security. Once a world was brought to compliance, the Fist would swiftly set up defenses. Fortresses, bunkers, and defense systems would be built with painstaking detail and blinding speed. The Fist did not interfere with the planet's politics or anything of the sort, they simply fortified. While the legions like the Night Lords were made to ensure loyalty, the Fists were made to ensure safety. To outsiders, the Fists appeared to be humorless warriors and sculptors, many people calling them stone men. Yet aside from this, the Legion has a surprisingly rich culture. The Fists quickly came to grow a Legion culture largely consisting of ways to discipline oneself as well as partaking in honor duels often. At a glance, they would not seem to be swordsmen, but the Legion bred some of the most skilled duelists in the galaxy, the most prevalent being First Captain Sigismund. We will discuss him later in the video. The 7th were famed for their self-inflicted discipline. A relic they still use to this day, called the Pain Glove, was used by many legionnaires. Dorn believed pain was an incredibly important tool to discipline the mind, body, and soul, as well as a form of meditation. The Pain Glove is a device that embraces the wearer in a body glove that uses electrical pulses to activate every nerve ending upon the body. When the heresy began, Rogal Dorn and his Fists were not present to battle out in Istvan, but were instead drawn back to Terra and its defense. This is due to a ragtag group of space marines mainly consisting of loyal Death Guard and Sons of Horus escaping their traitor brethren upon a ship called the Eisenstein. Led by Nathaniel Garrow of the Death Guard, they fought and weaved their way to the Primarch of the 7th and told him of Horus's betrayal. The Fists would spend the ensuing years turning Terra into the most incredible, impenetrable fortress ever known within the galaxy. So too did they do this with the rest of the solar system. Dorn held command over all of this and was deemed the new War Master of the Imperium after Horus's betrayal. Before the Battle of Terra took place, the uprising upon Mars occurred with the Dark Mechanicum. Dorn sent Sigismund and his warriors to secure the manufactories necessary for the survival of the Loyalist cause, and while they were unable to rescue all of Mars, they secured many weapons and armors that were direly needed for the defense of Terra. This included almost 12,000 suits of power armor and double that in weapons. The Fist fought alongside the Blood Angels and the White Scars when the Siege of Terra began, fighting vigilantly against the traitorous forces. Eventually, the Emperor planned an assault upon Horus's flagship, the Vengeful Spirit, and brought along with him Sanguinius, Rogal Dorn, and a large number of warriors from the Imperial Fists and Blood Angels. Yet when they enacted the teleporter assault, disaster struck, and the forces were scattered throughout the ship. Sanguinius fell first to Horus, and the Emperor fell after defeating his corrupted son. Dorn found the Emperor and brought him back to Terra in his mortally wounded state. He then placed him within the Golden Throne and saved the Emperor for what he could. Dorn would forever feel regret and shame for not being on time to aid the Emperor. Once the siege of Terra was won by its defenders, the Imperial Fists remained garrisoned for thousands of years, but still declared an eternal crusade against the traitor brethren, sending the majority of their chapter to hunt them down. This led to one of the most brutal and bloody battles of the Horus Heresy, and where the Fists fought against their rivals, the Iron Warriors. Perturabo and his warriors had created a horrifying fortress, and Rogal and his Fists sought to hunt him down and kill him. Yet when the Fists invaded the fortress named the Iron Cage, they were all but destroyed. If it were not for the arrival of the Ultramarines, the Imperial Fists would have likely been entirely wiped out. With the creation of the Codex Astartes, the Fists were split into three main chapters, those being the Imperial Fists, the Crimson Fists, and the Black Templars. These two new chapters eventually became very unique and separate from the Imperial Fists. As the years drew on, many battles were fought, and eventually Rogal Dorn did not return from one of these battles. It is fully unknown whether the Primarch is alive or dead, but all that was found was his severed hand. Now let's talk about perhaps the most important character of the Imperial Fist, and one of the most important space marines in the galaxy. First Captain Sigismund. Sigismund was a legend before the heresy, and through hundreds of battles and duels, he was never defeated. He was only defeated once, and similar to how Lucius was defeated, Sigismund was bested by a treacherous headbutt from Sevatar of the Night Lords. Yet even when defeated by an underhanded blow, he had no negative reaction and took such a loss with honor and admitted his defeat. He too spent many hours dueling with Karn of the World Eaters, and from him he learned to chain his sword to his arm. Sigismund led a squad of Crusader brethren that were honor guard to Rogal Dorn, and they were the first to board the Eisenstein and learn of Horus's betrayal. When Horus arrived at Terra, Sigismund was deemed by Dorn to be the very first Emperor's champion. At this, he donned midnight black armor that would later be the colors of the Black Templars chapter. So too did he don his sacred blade as he charged into battle. He defended Terra with pure zeal and honor, defeating every champion in his way, including his old friend Karn. Sigismund led the ground forces upon Terra as his father Dorn and the Emperor led the assault upon Horus's flagship. After the heresy, when the remaining loyalist legions were split into chapters, Sigismund became the first High Marshal of the Black Templars. He led countless crusades against the enemies of the Imperium, until finally, after 1,000 years, Abaddon the Despoiler launched his Black Crusade. The Black Templars were the first line of defense, and Sigismund sought Abaddon's head. At this, a magnificent duel occurred, yet Sigismund had aged far more than that of Abaddon, for time moves much differently within the warp where Abaddon spent much of his time. The duel ended when Sigismund thrust his sword through Abaddon, but he knew the blow would cost his life. Abaddon cut the great champion in two, and the battle was over. Sigismund's final words are as follows: "You will die as your weakling father died, soulless, honorless, weeping, ashamed." In the 41st millennium, the Fists still stand strong against the tides of traitors and Xenos alike. They have fought in many battles, perhaps the most prevalent being the War of the Beast against the Orcs. This battle led to the Imperial Fist chapter being reduced to a single man. Yet, with the help of the Crimson Fists and the Black Templars and other Space Marine chapters, they have regained their strength to full for now. For the time being, they stand guard over the Imperium as its last wall and last line of defense. The workout is as follows. We have 4x8 for deadlifts, 4x8 chin-ups, 4x8 pen lay rows, 4x10 lat pull-downs, 4x10 T-bar rows, 4x10 straight arm pull-downs, and 4x10 bench-assisted inclined dumbbell rows. I hope you guys can maybe even try this at home if you want to try this at the gym. It's a fun workout. I would recommend maybe adding some arms to it as well if you wanted to hit another muscle. But I hope you guys enjoy it. Let's get into it. Well, lads, there's the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you can try out that workout at the gym. It was a lot of fun. Got a really good back pump going. I really recommend. I realize that there is a lot more to talk about with the Imperial Fists and a lot of their characters and stuff like the War of the Beast and all that cool stuff. So we'll definitely talk about that in the future. For now, just want to get the more broader stuff in for you guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any suggestions, leave them in the comments below and I'll totally look at them. Any lore that you guys want, any workouts that you want, food challenges, I'll totally do them. So like, comment, share, and subscribe. I really appreciate it. I love you guys. Work hard out there and stay jacked.